What's happening, everybody? Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy back to the winter here in Northeast Ohio. My name is Joe Mazzoluo. This is my man, Pete Smith. This is Pete and Joe, or I should say this week's episode of Pete and Joe, presented by the OBR Streaming Network. Pete Smith, how you holding up, big guy?
I'm fine. I didn't hear anything to do with asteroids or anything else.
Yeah, right. We at least dodged that bullet today. Let's talk about I would say the breaking news of the day. Let's talk about Jalen Waddle getting dealt from the Miami Dolphins to the Denver Broncos. What do you think about that one? It's a bit of a steep price for a guy with the injury issues that Waddle's had.
If I'm Malik Willis, I'm wondering why did I sign here? And maybe a trade wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I mean, I think you mentioned this a long time ago. I think A-Chain is next. I think it's a matter of when, not if. I don't know where he's going, but I think he's gone. And then from the Broncos side, expensive, yes.
Yeah.
But more than that, it's all on Bo Nix. Like,
yeah,
you have a really good defense. Now you've got Cortland Sutton. Now you've got Jalen Waddle. You've got all kinds of weapons. If not now, when for Bo Nix?
Yeah. Well, look, I think Bo Nix surprised a lot of people with his ability as a rookie to go in there and kind of steady the ship and, be the every down franchise starter for that team. But he has additional steps he's got to take. And we don't know if he's ever going to make those steps. There's a reality here where, we could be seeing the best we're going to see of Bo Nix. He might not get substantially better, or maybe he does, and a downfield threat like Waddle can help unlock him a little bit. I mean, it's tough to see what Jalen Waddle brings that Marvin Mims doesn't bring in small doses in that offense. And I mean, maybe I'm downplaying what Jalen Waddle's true impact is, but I don't see a special receiver. I certainly don't see a guy at that price tag that would fetch a 1 and a 3. I'm surprised by it, to be honest with you.
Maybe. I mean, that on top of the fact that for whatever reason, the Bo Nix and Sean Payton have been like sniping at each other all offseason. So we'll see if that changes. But yeah, look, I think Waddle's good. Is he good enough to take you from, really good or like a good team to a great team? I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody's now immediately speculating who's going to be gone from that receiver room. Is it going to be Marvin Mims? Is it going to be Troy Franklin? And if you're a Browns fan, everybody's sitting there, this is what always happens. Like, okay, Andrew Berry, go get insert guy. I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
I like both of those guys coming out of college, both Franklin and Mims. Marvin Mims, to his credit, when he's on the field and gets the ball, good things seem to happen. It's always been this very weird thing where like, you'll have this week where Marvin Mims goes off and then he will just disappear, not by him disappearing, by the team disappearing him.
Yeah.
Troy Franklin, similar deal, very talented, incredibly promising numbers coming out of Oregon. So, there's a world where they keep all those guys and just say, hopefully these guys are all going to take the necessary steps forward. We're just going to be loaded with weapons.
Yeah.
But, if you're the Broncos and you're sitting here going, we just offloaded a first and a third, we'd like to get something back, then that would be your next avenue. But at the same point, like, are they going to be in a position of strength to be able to sell these guys? Or teams could be like, yeah, we're just going to wait and the price could be reasonable.
Yeah.
Hard to say, especially because, I guess their argument would be, look how expensive wide receivers are. You should give us more stuff. But they are the ones who jacked up the price, which is going to have sort of a potentially cascading effect for A.J. Brown, for Brian Thomas Jr., if that's a thing. Like, all these other teams are going to sit here and look at that price and go, I've got to get more than maybe whatever the price truly was. They may now look at it and go, I've got to get more than I did before, which then will stall out all these moves.
Yeah. Well, when you look at it, though, I can't view Denver as a potential team to get rid of young talent for a reasonable price just because they're in championship contending mode. That's what this move is. It's to get them over the top. So I don't think they're going to deal away depth. They're just going to have as much depth as possible until they can't afford it. But the focus being on probably the next 2 years to make a legitimate championship run before you have to sell off some vets and retool and kind of reshape the core of your team. But it's still very interesting. And it just shows how crazy the wide receiver market is, and just kind of drives home the point that we've been championing all along, that like 6 is probably the spot you got to get a wide receiver. Look at these prices. Look at what teams are trading. Like that's you get the number one guy in the draft. Go get your guy.
Right. I mean, between contracts and now the amount of assets being paid out, it's a volatile position.
Yeah.
Yes, there are guys you can sit there and go, Puka Nacua in the 5th round. Well, why doesn't every team go out and do that? Because it's really difficult and the miss rate is really high because there's so many factors involved between, offense, between quarterback, all these elements. Like there's so many things that have to be right for the receiver to be right. And you've got to swing. And, so yeah, I think the Browns, it's one more reason to sort of sit there and go, yeah, they should probably take a receiver at the top of the draft and not risk it. My immediate worry coming out of this trade is now Miami is sitting there at 11 with a very apparent need at wide receiver.
Yeah.
So if the Browns were to take an offensive lineman or even try to trade down or whatever, that's one more team that could potentially be in the market that takes a wide receiver off the board and takes somebody or moves up the schedule for receivers. So if you're sitting there 24 and you go, well, I want to get a receiver, that potentially jeopardizes one more guy being there.
Yeah. Well, just going by what we know about, and obviously it's their first year in Miami, right? But these are Green Bay guys. These are guys that come from an organization that just this past year was the first time they ever invested a first-round pick on wide receivers, and they know how to get the guys in the 2nd and 3rd and beyond. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Miami doesn't just kind of pass over receivers in that 1st round and load up on the trenches or just go best player available. I mean, this is, Pete, you're probably talking about the worst roster in football right now is what it's shaping up to be. And especially if they trade Devon Achane, I mean, honestly, at this point, what the hell was Malik Willis thinking?
Yeah.
And if he didn't know the plan, I mean, what's going through his head right now? You rarely get multiple opportunities at a true starting job where you are unchallenged. Like, this was a great opportunity for Malik Willis, and for him to go to an organization that's having a fire sale, dear God, like what a poor decision.
Well, I mean, the first question is, what were other teams really offering?
Yeah.
What did Miami blow everybody else out of the water, or was it, a choice between, did Arizona offer a super competitive, deal, or did the Browns offer a super competitive deal? As an example, Did somebody else offer something? Because at that point, yeah, you might have some real buyer's regret, and you can make the argument, well, state taxes and all that. All right, fine, but like, it would really help you out in terms of your making money, going to a good team being really good and getting another contract. And this situation jeopardizes that. Yeah, I mean, the Devon Achane thing is going to sit there. And I went and looked at their roster after Waddle's left.
It's so bad.
If you are of the mindset that the Browns can tank, you are grossly overestimating the AFC East. There are 2 teams that are abominable. They have to play each other twice. That is your best hope for them to get wins right now, because they look like they are sitting there going, the Jets Dolphins games next year could be an incredibly entertaining experience to see who's willing to do more to lose those 2 football games. The Dolphins have no interest. And if you go and look at the roster, you're going to see a bunch of guys you've never heard of outside of like Patrick Paul and Chop Robinson. Like, it is an absolute, it's like the Atlanta Hawks thing. You're like, oh, he's still in the league and this is where he's playing. Like, they are that team right now. So to your point, like, yeah, I mean, I think the most rational sort of Green Bay thing would be doing exactly what you're laying out, which is take a lineman, trench something at 11, and then probably double dip in the 2nd round since they have 2 picks, and potentially take receiver at both picks. But that's the other sort of thing. So like that's the flip side of this. If the Browns don't take if they don't take a lineman, the Miami Dolphins now are potentially in the market to take a lineman there. Now,
2 linemen. I could see them taking 2 linemen in the 1st round.
Well, but the second pick is 30th, so it's not a huge threat.
Well, yeah, but still, it prohibits us from getting a guy to fall to 39. We would both like to see that.
Yes. Well, my calculus on how many linemen the Browns can actually take has changed quite a bit, given what they've been doing and what they could continue to do. But regardless, they're still got to get one.
Yeah.
Somewhere. It's got to be the right price and all that. But like, so if the Browns take McKylum and Carnell Tate at the top at 6, Miami, I think the guy they really hope would get there would be Mauigoa. I'm sure they'd be happy with Fano as well. But like, I don't think they're going to take Monroe Freeling, for example, because they've got Patrick Paul at left tackle. I think
they might take Vega, Pete, because even Austin Jackson at right tackle is not a bad option for them. It's not a weakness per se.
So they could do that. The other, obviously, they could also go the other side of the ball and defensive line. Chubb Robinson's really interesting. Mm-hmm. They're getting nothing out of Kenneth Grant so far, but they're not going to like give up on him.
Yeah.
But is there somebody in that area where they're going to be like, yeah, we really like, depending on what they want to do scheme wise, Keldrick Falk is sort of in the mold if they want to play an odd front where they could play him at a 4-eye or 5 type deal and let him be a, super young 20, almost, I think he's just 21 defensive end, big body guy that like can fit and do that. And like, that would obviously be the dream scenario for Keldrick Falk, because I think that's about as early as he could possibly go.
Yeah.
But maybe there's somebody else in that vein where that would make sense. I still think offensive line probably matches up better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is absolutely a possibility for them. And this is the other part. Like I've seen people talk about the Dolphins are a trade up. If anything, they're going to trade down.
Yeah.
They want more picks. And they're going to get as many assets as possible. And they're going to be the team that I will do almost anything to get 2027 draft picks.
Yeah. Well, and look at what they're doing, Pete. This is very reminiscent to what the Browns did in 2016 when they came in. They are gutting it. They have $175+ million in dead cap money this year alone. Like they are taking it all in one shot. They're ripping the Band-Aid off. They're doing it, man. It's crazy. Well, let's shuffle back around the league a little bit, a little more Brown-centric stuff. Hollywood Brown signed with the Eagles on a 1-year, $6.5 deal. And that's probably one of the more prominent names that's left in the receiver market, besides the veterans with the injury issues like Debo and Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill and stuff like that. Now, you didn't hear anything about Hollywood Brown, and you haven't, probably because of the injuries and the inconsistency, right? It's a shame. That kid was electric, man. He was a marvelous football player to watch once upon a time.
It's very weird how the NFL works, where if you're not around for a while, it feels like you just disappeared, because it felt like Hollywood Brown was just gone. And when his name popped up, it's like, holy crap, he's still a thing.
Yep.
Great opportunity for the Eagles. They're not paying him much money.
Yeah.
I think it's even the words are up to $6.5 million, which sort of shows how far he's fallen off. But like,
well, you can tell he's going to that position or that organization to rebuild himself and to make himself more, attractive for next year.
But to get more speed, more potential guys that could be problems. And if he's your third or fourth receiver, who's covering him? Like that's
and if you're him and they trade AJ Brown too, that's a huge opportunity for you right there. Not saying that they're going to, but it's been rumored. It's been rumored to be getting closer and closer. A lot of people thought it was going to be Denver.
Yeah, I still think eventually New England's going to pony up, because they just seem to. It follows the thing of the Patriots keep doing things I hate, and this would be a move I hate. So keep going with it. Like they've been really desperate. They want more weapons. Understandably, look. They've got the sweet window. Drake May is really, really good. They've got a lot of flexibility. Romeo Doubs is certainly going to replace some of what Stephon Diggs can do, but can they do more than that? Yeah. Is there anybody are the Ravens the team that's likely? Is that going to be the big dumb move they make to try to, I mean, it's weird. The whole situation, which has gotten worse because Max Crosby's now talked about the situation.
Yeah.
Is there a point where Eric DeCosta now does another desperate move to try to make up for the last desperate move to try to smooth things over to I don't just to change the news cycle, or, does he suddenly really press hard to get the Lamar Jackson extension done or whatever? It's weird. So I don't know that there's necessarily a lot of great fits for that, but I think that one's going to hang on till June just because of his contract. And when it hits June 1st, that they can spread out the dead cap, because that's the whole thing. the reason they have to get as much as they need to. AJ Brown is a good but declining player at this point. You can see, like, I know he's only 28, but he's like he's just not quite the guy he was even like 2 years ago. Now he may have
that's a position too, season. Pete, that the bloom comes off the rose quick for a big athletic guy like that. You lose a quarter step in the NFL, it's going to be noticeable.
Well, it's weird because, like, you get a guy like Mike Evans, he's been virtually indestructible in terms of like his body is held up, even though he's got hurt.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the wear and tear. Whereas AJ Brown, when you're that big and you catch the ball and you take hits, like, this is a more natural sort of progression of these things. Or Devontae Adams cannot make it through a season anymore. Still really good when he's healthy, but cannot get through a season. AJ Brown is just, you're going to get some good year, maybe just one, maybe two good years out of him, but he's not quite peak AJ Brown. Again, he might have a resurgent season, the prove the doubters wrong season. Great. And you get that nice, great big, basically what everybody gets from Jadeveon Clowney the first year, before the second year. And then you don't want him anymore. If that's the thing that the team can find, great. Because there's a couple other teams that are sort of hanging out there with receiver trades that they want to make, or at least aren't hiding the fact that they're trying to make. Like the Vikings are still likely going to eventually trade Speedy, because he cannot, get through a season without like a serious issue off the field. They're going to get to a point where they're at the end of his rookie contract. They don't want to pay the extension, so they can potentially move him and be one of the many, many teams in the first round that just picks up another one, and do it that way. Like the 49ers were a team that had been connected to him as a possible destination for quite a while. It wouldn't shock me if like the Eagles were the team that were like, we're going to move on from AJ Brown and we're going to bring in him. Now, the thing that would potentially stop the Eagles is they would then have a whole bunch of little guys around one more year of having a big tight end. They will not have a big body receiver at that point, which they seem to like, and really works well when you have Jalen Hurts. So maybe they will shy away from that, but that's one more receiver that's sort of out there that's going to be interesting to teams, hopefully not Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, let's look at we had some other signings happen this week. My guy, Rasheed Walker, went to Carolina on a 1-year, $10 million deal. And I think the Browns missed the boat on that one. That would have been an easy way to get the left tackle spot to a nice, comfortable position. But either way, he probably chose the better situation for himself in order to rebuild, his resume for next offseason. And then Jaquan Brisker to the Steelers. Pete, I'm sneaky annoyed by this move. This is a good player. This is a really good player.
Do not like it at all. I do not like it. Virtually, I'm not happy about anything the Steelers are doing. There's only one thing that makes me happy about the Pittsburgh Steelers offseason.
They're bringing back A-Rod?
That's one. The other is, it certainly seems like Caleb Johnson's just like, they're basically just saying, nope, can't do it. Can't play. We're moving on, which I hope is the case, but we'll see. Because then I will say that, and all of a sudden he will be starting on the depth chart. First team. Rico Dowd will be on the bench. Jalen Warren will be on the bench, and he'll have run for 2,000 yards. But it certainly seems like, because when the Steelers signed Rico Dowd, I just basically forgot he was on the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jaquan Brisker getting Sebastian Joseph Day or whatever his name is, who's like just a nice little cog piece.
Yeah.
There were places like what they had in Larry Ogunjobi at that spot, I think is going to be good for them. So yeah, Jamel Dean, certainly not a huge name or anything, but
he's a good player. Like guy's got playoff experience, and he's played at the on the biggest stages you could ask when. He's played well. He's tough.
Now, as far as Rasheed Walker goes, I'm curious to know what happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because obviously he went to Carolina in part because Ike Ekwonu is coming off the torn patella. I wonder if the Browns were interested and offered him a competitive deal, which I would assume they would have, if his hesitation was, they may draft a guy and my ass may be on the bench.
Yep.
And if I'm trying to go somewhere for if I'm stuck in a situation where I got to go play for a year and then get back out on the market, I have to be on the field. I cannot risk it. And I can't help but think that at some point
the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I think there was a conversation. There had to be a conversation where he basically looked at the situation and goes, yeah, I could go to Cleveland. Elton Jenkins is there. Maybe that's a good situation for me. But if they draft a dude and I get beaten out, I'm in trouble. So that leads me to believe that was a thought process for him.
Well, and not to mention the fact, Pete, and obviously you know how I feel about the guy, but it's not impossible that you look at the quarterback situation, you look at Shedeur Sanders specifically, and say, I saw this kid last year struggle to get rid of the football, take a lot of bad sacks, and kind of bring down the offense, which, I mean, there's a myriad of reasons that the offense struggled last year, but it's very easy to look at the situations and say, I'm going to take Bryce Young over Shedeur Sanders because I know Bryce Young's going to get rid of the ball on time and make me look like a competent pass blocker. I think that definitely plays into it.
It's very weird because as much as the NFL has gotten better in terms of evaluating line play, in terms of like how to handle contracts and stuff, they do get caught up in hype. There's no question about and certainly fans do to a certain degree influence some of these things where, I think there was, like with Rasheed Walker, I think there was a lot of, I don't want to say like fans basically made the determination that we don't want to overspend on this guy, and the entire league went, whoa, we're not going to do it. But I think in some cases, like you get, I'll give you a good example. Way back when, who did the Browns signed from the New England Patriots off the was it Joe Andruzzi or whatever?
They signed off the Super Bowl team for Romeo Crennel way back when. They signed Joe Andruzzi. I want to say the second year they got Willie McGinnis.
But I mean, just the offensive lineman, like there was this, all this excitement about getting like Joe Andruzzi, who was an okay guard, played well, but like was sort of coming off. Like it was heading south for his career, but because he came off that Super Bowl team, like there was all this, oh man, he's going to be great. You and I both know a certain people who fell into this category of proclaiming that fifth and sixth round picks were Patriots stalwart. We're gonna be stalwarts. You
want to be blown away with some names? How about New Mexico's Nick Spiegel and Kansas's David McMillan, Pete?
Yeah, but who did he compare him to? It was
McGinnis and
Teddy Bruschi.
Yeah,
it's like Teddy Bruschi. That's our Teddy Bruschi. Anyway, like this is one of those things, and it happens more in other sports. Like the best example ever is what's his face? God damn, I'm terrible with names. Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, like, was a very good player, phenomenal defensive player, good rebounder. He got so much more money for being Dennis Rodman in his contracts than he did for being a really good player by the end of it. Like, he was making money for being Dennis Rodman at a certain point. There is an element where hype still is a factor for some of these teams in terms of signing guys. And I think that can help. So, and the inverse is also true, where if I don't know how much excitement there is for Wyatt Teller going to Houston right now. And that's not because Wyatt Teller's bad, although he didn't have a great season. I think it's a lot because everybody's going, man, the Browns offensive line was not good. Their offense was terrible. So what are we getting?
Yeah.
So it does have
the Browns didn't re-sign him, but the Browns have been like taking the Houston Texans linemen off the scrap heap. So it's like it's really kind of funny. They're taking our linemen and we're trading for theirs.
Well, that part, the best part about that is like Titus Howard traded to the Browns, immediately goes out and recruits Elton Jenkins, who the Houston Texans were interested in, and the impact is then the Houston Texans turn around and pay Wyatt Teller basically the same deal, $1 million less on the overall total for the same length of the contract. Like, we'll see who ultimately wins out on that, but I feel better about Elton Jenkins than I do if I'm the Texans getting Wyatt Teller, because clearly they basically acknowledged that Elton Jenkins was the priority.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. And then you add in the versatility that he can play any of the interior spots, and you know, seems like a win to me. So I have some remaining free agents, because like free agency is still like, we're in the second wave right now. There's still plenty of names to be had in free agency, but considering what our needs are and what we're looking for, it's getting slimmer and slimmer. I mean, you look at quarterback, Pete, and I mean, it's a lot of old names. It's a lot of older guys that might not necessarily fit what Todd Monken's looking for. Guys like Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco and Russell Wilson. And I mean,
I think one of those guys fits him.
What's that?
I think one of those guys fits him.
Are you talking about Joe?
That's right, Joe Flacco.
You just want to trade him again, Pete. All right, that's all.
I do think that's an interesting business opportunity. Is just keep signing and fitting.
How long is the league going to let us get away with it?
Here's the thing, like, that's part of it. So many people are focused on mobility, and that's valuable. You can play the clips of him talking about it, and that's obvious. When you can force defenses to play 11 on 11, you have an advantage. But I don't think Todd Monken wants a quote unquote West Coast quarterback where it's timing and let's say that those things aren't, but the type. Yeah. I think he wants to do it with an arm.
Yeah.
I think he wants somebody who can push the ball down the field. I think he wants somebody who can push the ball on the outside of the field. I think he wants to be able to do all those things. So when people throw out the names of, even Ty Simpson, that is not his strength. Throwing outside the numbers is not something he likes to do, which is why I'm very questioning of if that would be the guy he wants in the draft. There are guys in the draft I think he could fall in love with, and one of them is Drew Allar. I could also see him talking himself into the kid from North Dakota State, Cole Payton, just because of those things. But I do think, obviously, there's an element of beggars can't be choosers at this point, which is certainly where we're at. Having said that, I think if you could have Todd Monken sort of pick his quarterback, and this was the thing, like, people were so convinced that Kevin Stefanski had a type that he liked a whole lot of things. I think Todd Monken, if he could draw it up, yes, he would get somebody who could move. But ultimately, he wants a guy who can make all the throws and do all kinds of stuff and allow him to stretch out the offense, allow him to run the ball, force teams to play all over the field and all these kinds of things. Because you've seen him do that at various stops. And he had Jameis Winston in Tampa and those kinds of things. He had Lamar Jackson, who has a great arm, and you saw what he could do with that. I think that would be his preference. Is that a realistic scenario? And is he somebody who's sitting there going, yeah, man, I'm going to look for that when I get the chance, but right now I need to win football games, so I'm going to bring in X. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be a great fit, but like, this may be a situation where the musical chairs sort of end and they basically sit there. It's me or nobody. And, that could be a thing. My inclination would be, one, I think Kirk Cousins is more looking at Pittsburgh than the Browns at this point. I think he's in sort of with that Aaron Rodgers bucket. But also, it wouldn't shock me, and we talked about this on Gang of Three yesterday. It wouldn't shock me if it's, when it comes to some of these veteran quarterbacks, if the Browns basically go to OTAs, see what it looks like, and then make a decision on if they want to bring in a Kirk Cousins, if they want to trade for a Jameis Winston, if they want to do something else, where it feels like they are extending themselves beyond what they want to do. Or Joe Flacco, and they can, you could see where they go. We got him on the field. I don't like it. I need more, and then make a move. Now that wouldn't look very great for the guys here, but I think it would be an honest assessment of what the team is. Now there may be a world where he comes out and goes, "Yep, Shedeur is exactly right." I think Shedeur can get better at this. I think he had a productive offseason. I think he did some of the things he needed to do to get better, and we're ready to roll. Like, I'm open to that possibility, but that's where I wonder if the Browns are going to sit here and go, we'll just roll the OTAs and see what happens, because this is the part where, like, and we get this all the time, like, we'll get questions like, are the Browns done in free agency? Free agency is forever. Like, it's going to go until the season. Like, they're going to sign, there's going to be a crop of free agents that's sitting there in June. Mm-hmm. You're going to be like, yeah, that guy's still there. Yeah, I'd like to bring him in. There's just a great opportunity or whatever. So, like,
there's going to be a ton of veterans who don't want to go to work yet, Pete.
Yes. Well,
that are just going to bide their time until training camp and show up and clock in.
Yes, absolutely. There are guys who do not, Jadeveon Clowney famously, I have no interest in OTAs, and more power to him. Like, If he doesn't have to, and he's going to get the same money, like you don't get OTA checks.
If nobody paid him, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
he would go to OTAs
unless your contract specifically says workout bonuses, which is why like Bill Belichick famously always included those things to try and make his guys go to work. You know, I get game checks. I don't get workout checks. So I'm going to show up for when I got to show up for the game. So there's going to be guys like that, and there may be a great opportunity there. So that. Yes, there's a sprint element to free agency, but it is ultimately a marathon. And so I'm not in a rush, even though today, weirdly on St. Patrick's Day, but there's a rash of moves like, you know, GMs and agents got liquored up and started doing stuff. I don't know, but like.
I think it happened in this morning so they could go out and get liquored up, Pete. I think they were just trying to grease the wheels on the day. That's all.
Perhaps.
All right. So let me ask you this. I was doing some free agency work, and I came by two names that piqued my interest a little bit. One of them is a connection, and the other one is not. It's just kind of a need, right? It's kind of an upgrade on Gage Larvadan, right? What do you think about Greg Dortch from Arizona? He's a smaller guy. He's 5'7", 180 pounds, but he's a decent slot. He's got decent numbers. He's a return guy.
What that makes me think of, I'm bummed. Well, I'm simultaneously happy Devin Duvernay did not go to a team I don't want him on.
Yeah.
And similarly, I'm also sitting going, why isn't that a guy that like the Browns
We're interested in? He's been a free agent like 3 out of the last 4 years. It seems like he's available often.
Yes, and he always seems to give you more than you're expecting. Like, yeah, he's a really good returner. And then I hated him when he was on the Ravens because every so often you just show up on offense and do something to you. And like it felt like a really good fit with him on the Bears because you had a coach that could just like deploy him and be like, yep, you're going to do this thing and it's going to work great and you're going to make a big play. I love those type of guys. You know, Greg Dortch is not bad. I wouldn't hate it. I would say I don't expect it to happen given what I heard from Brian Storer. Maybe he probably shouldn't have said as much as he did, but he was really talking up the Browns guys on the roster already and talking how excited he was about Gage Larvaday, which I'm not against it, but like if you then go out and sign another guy, replace him, it makes me wonder what you were talking about. Yeah. Because he's like, it was very strange because like obviously the Browns move on from Bubba Ventrone, much to so many people's glee. And I sat here and thought, I get it, but like the roster's a real concern. Then Brian Storer walks in and tells you how great all these guys are. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know, man. You may want to rethink some of this stuff that all these guys are really good. And look, I like Gage Larvaday. I know people are on him about some of the stuff with partnership, but I always respect the fact he was fearless. Like, give me a guy who's not afraid to be back there. Now, there are guys that they could get, you know, if they're to draft Casey Concepcion, then forget it. He's back there doing it. But of course. I don't have a problem with Gage Larvaday. And if they want to bring in Greg Dortch is fine. Although the Browns have a really bad history with bringing in tiny returners. Yeah,
they get hurt every preseason, and they don't even make it to the regular season.
No, Fred Gratham's seen multiple guys die on the field.
Yeah,
he's forgotten some of the names of people who've just crumpled right in front of him. Like one of them just retired, Jakeem Grant, who played like 2 snaps for the Browns, and
they were both preseason snaps. Yep.
Yeah, just absolute catastrophic injury. So that's my only concern is that they would bring in another tiny guy. The thing is, I really liked Greg Dortch as a guy coming out of college, and it just hasn't seemingly worked. But he's interesting.
All right. Well, we're always talking about tight ends, right? And I don't even want to talk about the fact that David Njoku's in Baltimore today. I don't want to talk about that because that would just upset me on an emotional level, and I don't want to get there. John Fitzpatrick from the Green Bay Packers. He's a free agent. He played under Todd Monken in Georgia. He's 6'7", 265 pounds, and he's been buried behind a couple of really talented tight ends in Green Bay. What do you think about giving that guy a flyer?
My question: why would they not have gotten him instead of Jack Stoll?
Yeah,
because that seemingly would be exactly what he is. Now, Jack Stoll, for his part, plays a whole lot of special teams. Off the top of my head, I don't know if this guy does.
Yeah.
But it's a huge body. I don't know if he can catch or anything else. I don't remember him at Georgia. But these are always the things where you're like, well, I coached him at Georgia. Okay, well then why doesn't he seem to care about him now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of shoots a hole in my theory.
well, and it may be a situation
It's early
where
though. It's early in the process. I mean, who
no,
knows? Where that kid's at, and what he's looking at, and what he's trying to do.
I don't know what he wants for contract demands, but here again, if the Browns are sitting here going, yeah, we're probably going to want to really address this in the draft.
Yeah.
Are they going to go to OTAs with like two guys? Like on some level, you need to bring in somebody. Now,
some bodies, yeah.
Now, for his part, he's probably going to want some guaranteed money to make sure he's not just being here for OTAs and then promptly cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got to do something. And I don't know if that's a trade. There are a couple guys out there that make sense in terms of trades that I could see being moved. One of which is out. We've talked about is Michael Mayer. The other is just Cole Kmet. If the Bears decide, we don't love his cap figure at this point.
Yeah,
I would
love that.
Obviously price point is the whole thing, but like Cole Kmet is a professional tight end. I would have no problem with that.
Yeah. Agreed. So how about this name? So this kid was in the draft last year. He went undrafted out of Ole Miss. He's another big-bodied run blocker, Cade Prescorn, and we signed him midway through the year. I don't even know if he got any game time.
No,
but
I don't think so.
It's just another big-bodied kid that kind of fits what we need in terms of an inline guy. Any interest in seeing what he's got to offer in the preseason?
Is he not on the roster? Was
he
not?
He is.
Oh, then yes.
Yeah.
For that reason, like, see if this guy can do something. He was a guy who he obviously
thought of last year.
He was a guy who was undrafted, but there were a lot of people like talking about him as he could be a late round guy.
Yeah.
There was some interest in him. So yeah, I'm glad they grabbed him as a carryover to see what he can do for this exact reason.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So looking at because we still have the whole left tackle, right? And we've been talking about the guys that are the best on the market right now. So I've got 4 names right now. One of them is kind of fringy because he's been a right tackle for the last couple of years. We've talked about him before. It's Jonah Williams from Arizona. But you're looking at Taylor Decker, you're looking at Cam Robinson, and you're looking at Joe Noteboom. And just about every team in the NFL needs tackles, whether it's starters or depth. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of market for all 3 of these guys. So, nobody's going to be had for a veteran minimum. But which of those names, I think we both agree that Noteboom makes the most sense because of the Warhop and Monken connection, everything like that. But do you have any interest in Taylor Decker? Do you think Cam Robinson would be worth running it back on? What about Jonah Williams?
Taylor Decker, I am betting that if the San Francisco 49ers find a way to trade Trent Williams, he will step in immediately and go play there. Having listened to Decker talk about how much pain he played in last year, which is a heart-wrenching video of him doing that interview. I do not see a world in which he's going to try to come out here and die for this team to try to win 8 games.
Yeah.
If he's going to play, it's not a financial consideration for him. He's made a lot of money. I want to go play for a team that can win. And again, San Francisco, if they trade Trent Williams, I think he steps right in there, signs, and off they go. Or he waits until the season plays a little bit, sees how things are going, and maybe there's an opportunity for him to step in. I understand, has been a great tackle. But if you look up the video of him talking about this thing and you go, well, he should come play in Cleveland, you are out of your mind. Yep. Jonah Williams, similar deal, not in terms of I've heard him this heart-wrenching tale about him, but his body is just broken up. Arizona could use him. If he could play at right tackle, they could use him. Yeah. If you want to swing around and put him at left tackle, you can, but it just feels like he's going to break down at some point and you're not going to get what you want. Not to mention he wasn't very good anyway this past season. Whatever. So I have no problem with Cam Robinson or Joe Noteboom if one of those stands out. It may entirely be a question of I don't feel like showing up to work until July.
Yeah.
Maybe entirely a price point thing, given that we just saw we've sort of seen the bottom fall out of the market on tackles.
Well, and the draft has a plethora of offensive tackles, so that's going to kill the market for them as well.
So they maybe sit here and go, well, I'm going to see how this plays out and then make my decision. I don't know. Yeah. I think Noteboom's the easiest fit. And no, he's not a particularly great player, but you get the guy we do this every time. We get the guy who knows the system of the coaches coming in, who knows how to communicate. And yes, you could go, yeah, Titus Howard knows George Warhop. He may, but he may not know what the Baltimore Ravens language is, whereas Joe Noteboom maybe will step right in and offer that. The other guy that's still out there, I believe, is Daniel Falele.
Yeah, he is.
Is he?
Wasn't he a tackle coming out too? I mean, he's a mountain. He's like 6'8", 340 pounds.
He was a right tackle at Minnesota.
Yeah,
I believe. He was definitely a tackle. I think he was right tackle. Just a giant human being. Is that a situation? I don't think he fits what the Browns are trying to do. Based my theory of the case on what the Browns offensive line wants to be. But nevertheless, if it's so cheap, they may be like, screw it. We'll bring him out just because it's the cost is so low. But yeah, there's usually that guy that they bring in that can do the whole, I know the system.
Yeah, which, I mean, we see it every time there's a new coach in there. And the general thing is, like, I feel like every coaching staff wants to have at least one of their guys in every position room just to help with the transition of everything and being like almost like a teacher's assistant on the field, like that sort of deal, And I mean, sometimes they're role players, sometimes they're starters, sometimes they're fringe guys that probably aren't going to make the team.
Well, I mean, it's often depth because it's a guaranteed job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that, like, you sit here and wonder, why do guys follow coaches around? Because they know they're going to get a job.
It's work.
And that's, that's half the battle for some of these guys. Now, yes, you can have starters make that transition. Obviously, Isaiah Likely going to the Giants knows John Harbaugh and everything. But like, by and large, those type of moves are, or Patrick Ricard also going there. There's a lot of Ravens guys leaving Eric DeCosta for John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Just its own little.
Well, look, it's like any other part of your life, man. You go where you're comfortable. Like, right. I've had jobs before that I've gone back because, oh yeah, I've worked for that guy before. He's great. Like, that's a very human thing,
Right. Or, even if they aren't great, I can get a job.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. All right. Well, when you look at this roster, I want to throw out a couple of names because I threw out Cade Prescorn a little bit earlier. But I was going, there's a handful of guys that, like, I'm genuinely interested in, right? I think that the obvious one, right, is Zach Zinter, because we really haven't seen him do anything, right? Like, we've seen him do some injury replacement stuff late last season, but like, I don't know if anybody's comfortable saying he's this as a player or he's that as a player. I'm anxious to see what he can do. There's still talent there. There's still a third-round pedigree that we were excited about at one point. So maybe the change of scheme can kind of break that out. But I look at the defensive side of the ball, Pete. I had two linebackers, right? I like Nathaniel Watson, and I really like Winston Reed, and then Donovan McMillan. I'm really intrigued to see these guys, especially the two outside linebackers getting more of an opportunity playing next to Quincy and Carson. I think it could be fun.
Well, I still hold out hope that Mahmoud Diabate will make his way back here.
Yeah,
but yes,
me too. I love Diabate.
As a guy who did not like the Buki Watson pick, I was happy that they were really excited about him, and he looked really good in preseason. Super productive, even though the issue for me was he very old. And this is why I don't like drafting old players, is because then they get hurt, and now they're even older and they're hurt. But nevertheless, you got him in the 6th round. Who cares? In a draft that wasn't great. Yeah. If he can be a player, great. Winston Reed, interesting. Mascarenas, Arnold, can he be something? They really liked him last year in terms of his intelligence and stuff like that. He was able to contribute on special teams. Can he offer something beyond that? Yeah, I mean, look, this is the thing where, like, I just let Jason Tarver do stuff. Just do your thing. Donovan McMillan, when the Browns announced a whole bunch of free agent signings after the draft, my number one guy I was excited about was Aiden Huntington. Number 2 was Donovan McMillan. Donovan McMillan had a extremely productive profile. Make all kinds of tackles, combo safety, good athlete, tested well, and his tape was pretty good.
How come he went undrafted? That was so weird to me. Because he was decently highly thought of. Like people were excited when we got him.
I don't know. It just seems to be a position where that seems to happen. Ronnie Hickman was a guy that we were talking about taking him like early day 3, and he went undrafted. Like the thing I'm happy about, and Christopher Edmondson is another guy I know that Ephraim Banda likes, but Ephraim Banda seems to be the through line on this thing. Ephraim Banda seems to have a thing he seems to will find in safeties, because they've gone through this a couple years in a row and found guys that have ultimately made the roster and be able to contribute in some form or fashion. McMillan this past year, largely in special teams. Edmund, good athlete, was still like raw as a technique and just seeing it, doing it type guy, but like was an interesting profile that they seem to think got better for year 2. So is one of those guys going to break through? I really like what McMillan can be. Now, that sort of raises questions to me on one hand. Why are they looking at certain safeties?
Yeah.
But also it doesn't answer the other question, which I have, which is free safety. So I'm sort of curious to see how they do this. And it could be that like the Browns are kind of open-minded with how they want to play safeties, because if you get like multiple guys who can be match up against tight ends, then you can sort of flex them around and have them mix and match roles in terms of disguise and coverages, as opposed to Grant Delpit's taking the tight end, adjust accordingly. That type of thing. Like like the Browns are having Emmanuel McNeil-Warren in for a visit at some point. And one of the things he's supposed to be able to do is match up with tight ends. And he's more of a combo safety. He's not a true free safety, or at least I don't think he is. Most of his work's done in the box. Is that a situation where the Browns want to be able to disguise and do all these other things, or the Browns more or less looking at this as eventually a Grant Delpit replacement or something along those lines? I don't know the answer.
I was just going to say, Pete, Delpit's in the last year of his deal, and right now Ronnie Hickman's on, a second-round tender, a one-year deal. So they have to have eyes on the safety position for the future. I mean, I think we both agree. I would love to see Grant Delpit back in some capacity, and I'd pay him handsomely to do it. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a really good player. But it definitely makes sense that we're interested in safeties. I haven't heard anything about the Browns and Caleb Downs. Like we've heard a little bit of McNeil-Warren from Toledo, and I thought I heard something about them interviewing Thieneman at the Combine, but I haven't heard anything about them and Caleb Downs yet, which I found interesting.
Well, some of that
they might have met, and we just didn't hear about it. I'm just saying I haven't heard.
Right. Well, and the other part of that is they may, obviously the medical is the question with him, but like they may sit here and go, he's fantastic. I don't need to unless you're saying I want to visit with him because I just want to spend even more time with him because he's so great.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it, because, and that may have been, obviously the Browns met with Carson Schwechter in the pre-draft process, but they didn't use a visit on him. They were so comfortable that they were like, nope, we're good. Great. Like if that there's a world where that's the situation with Downs. And it also may be a world where they're sitting there going, look, man, great player, all these things, but like it ain't going to happen. And if for some reason he's there at 24, I guess we'll just go with it. You know what I mean? Like that's where I sit here and go, you have a limited amount of resources. Do you really want to use those things? Now, I say that, and I don't know that the Browns have used all 30 of their visits basically ever. Yeah. But nevertheless, like it may be a waste of his time. It may be a waste of their time. Again, they may just think, nope, he's great. What do I need? We don't need more time with him.
Yeah. No, and look, that's fair, and that's the toughest part of all these evaluations and all this guesswork that we do is that we're never inside that room. We're never the fly on the wall to be able to hear these conversations and see who meets with who and what the genuine interest is and everything like that. It's largely guesswork, All right, well, let's Ty Simpson is a name that keeps coming up. And, we heard with the press conferences with Monken and stuff like that. We know there's a past relationship, all that stuff. And I don't think that they're going to do it. But it's like you start to hear interesting things. Like Cynthia Freeland was on, the afternoon drive show saying that the Browns are going to take a quarterback early to compete with Shedeur. That's what she heard at the Combine, and that's what she saw at the Combine, and this, that, or the other. Now, personally, I would be very surprised if, number one, she was privy to that information. Number two, that was actually what they're doing. But let's just entertain it, right? At what point do you entertain the idea of Ty Simpson?
39.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any chance he's gonna make it that far.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who you talk to, because there's that argument that he's not even the number 2 quarterback in the class, and some people like Nussmeier. Some people, I mean, I haven't heard anything outside of Nussmeier, to be honest with you. I was looking for another name, but it's pretty much.
No, I mean the guy that some people are trying to make into that thing is Cole Payton.
Yeah, where do you stand on that one? That one seems like a bit of a reach for me.
Like Todd McShay loves him.
Yeah,
Todd McShay thinks I don't know how firmly he stands on this opinion, or if he's just caught up in the moment. Thinks he's the best North Dakota State quarterback that's come out of that program, which would make him better than Wentz.
Yeah.
I can't get there, which is whatever. Like, he's fine. He's got talent, but like, he is playing at North Dakota State, which they've been a great program, but they are going to move to FBS. And there's a reason they're going to move to FBS. One, because for the longest time, they've just destroyed that FCS level. But the changes to the portal and NIL, all those guys are just getting plucked out of that league and out of that level of college football, and there is less and less talent there. So they are beating up on children in some elements. And not only that, but they've obviously not been as good because, like I don't know whichever Montana school won this past year, but the Montana schools were the best teams in the country this past year. Even though like for there was a sustained run where North Dakota State's conference was crushing. It was North Dakota State, South Dakota State were all really, really good. But like all these FBS teams are like coming in and taking these guys out. And it's not, I mean, North Dakota State maybe will hold their talent, but a lot of these schools are not. And money and everything else, the opportunity is just too good. So like North Dakota State's looking at the situation and goes, we can go to FBS and get more money. And then everything else comes with it. But so what that is to say that Cole Payton and North Dakota State are not playing the level of talent that North Dakota State was playing when Carson Wentz was there, as an example. So Cole Payton may look really good. His numbers are phenomenal, but he's not playing NFL talent by any stretch. Like, it's diluted even that. So below that. So if you're the Browns, which is why I do not want to do this, he has to now adjust to a high level competition very quickly, that speed of the game and everything else that comes with it. And he has to do it fast enough to impress them to not then take a quarterback the following year, which is just, to me, unrealistic, which is unrealistic with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur. And then you got sort of this weird extra year that they get to prove themselves. And hopefully, one of them is going to take one, or hopefully both of them take full advantage of that. But like, we came out of last year, basically saying either Shedeur hadn't shown enough. Well, some people obviously thought, oh, he's the greatest quarterback that this team has never had.
Yeah.
But they're largely rational people said he hasn't done enough, or he's just not good.
Yeah.
So why are we going to ask another kid to essentially be a immediately awesome, a prodigy right out of the gate is just not reasonable. And if you're looking at like a guy like Ty Simpson, you're either going to, I think he needs to sit a year. That doesn't help you. So you're then you are incentivized to say, screw the competition with Shedeur. I'm just going to dump him in and make him the starter, which is why I don't want to do this. So I don't love the options that are there, and the guys that have more experience are guys like Carson Beck, who another guy who has a connection to Todd Monken, which is why I'm not putting any stock in any of this crap. There's a connection to all these guys because he goes to Georgia.
Yeah, and he recruited all of them in the last however many years that they were coming out, and he was there.
Yeah, so if he doesn't have a connection with them, it's because they were not a highly sought-after recruit.
Yeah.
So I don't put any stock in this, and I'm not going to say they won't draft a quarterback, but like, I have no interest in it unless there's some great opportunity, and I don't want to do it before round 5.
Yeah.
Because I look at the first 4 rounds and I go, those are players that can help either quarterbacks that are already here or the guy who's going to be here next year.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you hear the argument all the time. Why wouldn't you just take an offensive lineman at 94 instead of Dylan Gabriel? Why wouldn't you take
that was an argument,
in the 5th round instead of Shedeur? Like it's we hear it all the time. So I'm with you. I think the idea of using anything before round 5 on a quarterback is, I mean, you're essentially lighting that draft pick on fire. Because what have we been talking about? 2027 is the year for the quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. That's the year that everybody's kind of aiming. That's where we're going to get our guy, right? So now you have an offense that you're trying to figure out on the fly, and you're going to take a rookie and drop him into that situation in some capacity and think that in the next year is going to be decent enough for him to prove himself so that you can make a, legitimate, I don't know. I don't see it. It doesn't make any sense. You have a young quarterback. Sorry,
if the supporting cast is going to be good enough to sort of make this rookie come in and be good, then it should be good enough for Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel to at least be reasonable.
Agreed. And that's I think at the crux of this issue is I want to see what we have. And I don't necessarily look the way I look at it. Obviously, Deshaun is a non-factor in my mind, but he's at least there, right? Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel were $5 scratch-off tickets that we took a shot on, right? I don't want to throw a $2 scratch-off on top of them. It doesn't make sense to me. Just build up the team, build up the, if you want to use an analogy, build up the cockpit, and then find your pilot next year if Shedeur proves that he can't fly it. It's just, it's crazy. I like Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson in certain capacity, but for this team, I just don't see it.
Well, he's fun. There's a lot of Baker Mayfield in this game. Like he makes plays. He makes throws, and you're like, wow, this is really fun. There are clearly flaws there. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience. It obviously went downhill at points. He got beat up.
Before it did, there were plenty of people that thought it was a legitimate conversation who the number one quarterback this year was.
Yeah. Now, I still think he is physically okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Which, again, comes back to the conversation. What do you really want from the quarterback position? In a world of aliens, do you want to get somebody who's okay, or do you want to get somebody with crazy tools like everybody else seemingly is getting?
Yeah.
And my theory of the case is that Todd Monken is sitting here going, I want the crazy tools. Give me the crazy tools. I know how to build an offense. Give me the guy. I will make it work. And his resume sort of supports that. So, I'm here for give him the rest of the building, and then get the quarterback get him a house, put the quarterback in it. I'm here for all that. Figure out the rest of it. But this is part of what, and you laugh, but this is part of why I would have no problem with bringing back Joe Flacco, because here's what Joe Flacco does, if nothing else. He's a very good litmus test to see if you have functional offense. Because last year he was god awful with the Browns. He goes to the Bengals. It's like, yep, he's fine.
Yep.
And that is very cautionary to me in terms of just bringing another quarterback to do that. And they still have work to do. I think, look, I have a vision of what I think the offensive line is going to end up looking like, and I think it will work if they can get the rest of the pieces. But it's not done. They don't have a starting tight end yet, other than Harold Fant. They don't have a starting Y. They still have another receiver. They all these things, and we're like, well, let's just get another quarterback in there, another rookie in there. I just don't think that works. So that's part of why, if it's Jameis, obviously it would be more compelling. But I feel like if it's Joe Flacco, at least you're going to get a litmus test for if it's a functional offense or not. And it wasn't last year, and you got a very clear picture of that. Now, there's going to be a point if they just roll with the quarterback room they have, where we're going to sit here, if it's not good or not better, we're going to sit here and go, we're going to have that conversation. We go, are we sure it's the quarterback, or are we still sitting here going, we're not sure it's not the offense? And that's where, if you get a capable veteran, you get a better answer for that. And I do think that is.
I agree with that completely. And that is the one concern that you have going into this situation or this season with the quarterback room that we have. You know, it's terrifying because if Shador is as bad as some people think he is, then there's literally no hope for this offense in the building. There just isn't, you know, and it's right. Like that's, you know, and I see everybody going off in chat about it right now. Look, don't get me wrong. Neither Pete or I are like, hell yeah, Shador Sanders, print playoff tickets, let's go. It's literally a matter of like, can we do any better? And there are certain instances that we could have done better this offseason, but it would have been at the expense of, you know, draft picks in terms of bringing in Geno Smith. Maybe Geno didn't even want to come here. You know, you never know. Or it's going to be at the expense of like Shador getting a legitimate shot to see if he can be the guy, which regardless of what you think, I feel like the front office at least likes him enough that they feel comfortable at least having him be a part of this competition, you know? And I mean, that's my whole thing. I agree with everything being said in the chat. The fact that this defense is being wasted with the offenses that we've given them for the last 3 years, it's terrible. It's pathetic. It's super duper frustrating as a fan because I want to watch Myles Garrett in the playoffs. I want to see all that stuff. But there's nobody to get this year is the problem. You know, and you look at Shador, and of all Shador's faults, I agree with you. But look at Ty Simpson. He's no bigger than Shador. He's not a better athlete. The arm maybe is a little bit better, a little bit more zip on there. But like,
I think you're looking at I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen together, and a lot of that.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I feel like we're kind of stuck with this situation because we didn't get the number 1 pick. All we had to do was lose to Cincy and Pittsburgh, and we have Fernando Mendoza, and it's not even a thing. But as it is right now, that was the one quarterback available this offseason. So, like, I get it, man. I get the frustration in the chat, but what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, the defense will be fine. They have made it younger to sustain longer. And they've, between what they did last offseason, trades, and then the signings they've done this year, they've gotten the unit younger. Denzel Ward's the one you're going to sit here and go, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it. Everybody else, if they re-sign Grant Delpit, they'll be fine. But the pressure is still on them to deliver. But the pressure is, if it's going to work, the pressure is by doing smart things and taking good players. It's not trying to desperately reach and try to fix it too fast and make what amount to be bad gambles. Yeah. To me, Ty Simpson is not as good as Jackson Dart was last year. He isn't as talented in terms of just physical talent. He hasn't started nearly as many games. Certainly not the athlete. And he went at the end of the first round, and the Browns had every opportunity to go up and get him. They did not. And I'm fine with that. I don't then want to spend more, even if you want to try to make the argument that the draft isn't as good and therefore picks aren't worth as much. Okay, but like you're still taking a lesser prospect, even if you're sitting there going, we think he can be a better quarterback. That's fine. I don't love that gamble. I'd rather just get really good football players, again, which is what they did last year, and build up the roster that way, set yourself up for success, and to get the quarterback. And if you hit the quarterback when you have quarterbacks there to take, this team can suddenly take off. One, they will be a substantially better position in terms of, you know, having the tools around them. And if that's the case, that means the coaching staff is still here. So they should have a nice system in place to get it going. And they should have the confidence to be able to pull the trigger and make that work. That's, to me, is their best plan of attack. I don't love it. And certainly I don't think they should be done at quarterback in terms of veterans. I think if there's a veteran opportunity out there to make this group better, I think they should take it. But ultimately, when it comes to the draft picks, and on this one, I trust Andrew Berry for the most part, because Andrew Berry's been very consistent on saying, I'm treating this like an expansion team. If he follows through on that logic, they will be in good shape, because then he won't force things. He will just take the best players, and that will allow them to be in the best bit. Now, obviously, there's some some conditions on that. Those players need to be at premium spots as opposed to things like linebacker and running back. But nevertheless, if they do that and they get really good players at premium positions, even if they're at quarterback, and that will set this team up for success ultimately, they will win more football games than they did last year.
Yeah.
And, then they will probably have to make a move to get a quarterback, but so be it. I don't care. Like, if they're in a position to get a guy who's worth it, great, go nuts.
Yeah, well, and another thing too, and this is, I'm constantly referencing 2027 is the year that we're going to find our quarterback, because that's the year that the draft is going to be loaded, yada, yada, yada. But let's be honest. If the Cleveland Browns, whether it's by Shador or if we say we swing a trade for a veteran, we've talked about Jameis before. I think both of us would love to bring Jameis into this equation. But it's not necessarily just for a rookie quarterback next year, right? Because look, I personally wasn't one of them. I know you weren't one of them. There's a lot of people that are fans of this team that would have loved to see Kyler Murray come here, right? We're not going to get a quarterback of that ilk to come to Cleveland until we build up the rest of the roster and make it a legitimate team that they can step into. A lot of us wanted to see it this year, but why would a veteran who has options come to this team where it's like a page one rewrite, dude? 5 linemen, the receivers aren't great, the best running backs hurt. There's a lot going on in Cleveland. So this is the position we're in. Whereas maybe Shador Sanders is the best we can do right now, because we're either going to be overdrafting or, who are we going to sign? People, whether we're not asking or they're not coming, there's been no movement on quarterbacks, and quarterbacks don't want to come to Cleveland right now. So build up the team, and Turtle in the chat, we're kind of screwed at quarterback, and we just have to hope that Shador is good. That's the only hope for this season.
I don't subscribe to the notion they'll be out of the top quarterbacks, because I will go back to this all day long. The Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs all got their quarterbacks after being over 500 the year before. They traded up and got their quarterback. It still happens. Like, this notion that, the NFL's figured it out, no one's going to let you trade up, is a load of crap. It happens all the time. So they'll be fine if they can identify the guy they want. They go up and get him. We see it happen. Yeah. 2, I think, again, based on the conditions we're in, which is, this is not the quarterback class to draft one. It's just not, and I can't make it one.
Yeah.
I can't make it exist. I can't speak it into great quarterback class. I want the Browns to put themselves in a situation where, based off what they do with the draft and everything else, that when we get to the next offseason, the veteran quarterbacks that are sort of out there in the Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, those type of guys are sitting and going, I want to go to the Browns. I'm excited about the Browns. They're a great opportunity, even if the Browns have no interest in bringing in any of them because they want to go to the draft. But I still want them to be in a situation where they have veteran players going, no, that's a good situation, because that's going to be a good indication that the quarterback that the Browns would then be going to get would be in a good situation. And they may have to double up and do the thing where they get the veteran and the draft pick. That may be their best plan of attack. But either way, that I think is going to be a good barometer for where they are. This year, nobody wanted to come here in terms of veteran quarterbacks. Malik Willis didn't want to come here. And obviously some of this is Deshaun Watson, but that's still part of the equation. So that will be gone next year. You're going to have that off the team, all of it. So use that as your barometer. The veterans are sort of like, Cleveland looks like a good situation. I can go play winning football there. That's going to tell you when you should go get the quarterback.
Yeah. And honestly, when we get to the point where the offense is at least somewhat appetizing for a potential free agent to come in, like, that's where we want to be, because that's when our defense that is playoff ready, that's when you can plug in. That's when you can take a shot on the next Sam Darnold or, whoever you want to say, whether it's, Mac Jones or whatever like that. Make sure that the roster is just able to keep these guys afloat. And we weren't there this offseason. That was the whole point of this offseason, is getting the offense back afloat. And no veteran of any sort of reputation was going to walk into that.
I'm not remotely worried about the Dolphins and the Jets being worse than the Browns. I know they're going to be worse than the Browns. Yep. There are going to be more than 2 quarterbacks in next year's class. If you're sitting there going, oh no, we won't get Arch Manning or we won't get Dante Moore. Okay. I will sit here and we'll see what happens. But I'm pretty confident I'm going to want Jordan Mailata from USC. I'm hoping the Browns will take his receiver this year and bring him in next year. But he's got that Caleb Williams type skill set. There are a ton of these guys that are going to be in that class. What's his face? The kid who's going from Duke to Miami, who the next Hurricanes big time quarterback, which a lot of people are excited about. There are a number of quarterbacks in this class upcoming that have a chance to be really good. I'm not worried at all that the Browns are going to be in a situation where they can't get one of them. I'm curious to see. There's like 6 quarterbacks just going to schools in Texas that are of interest. Whether or not they can make it happen. But like the ones that you're pretty confident are Dante Moore, because he would have been a top pick this year already, and Arch Manning, because he's really talented and because he's Arch Manning. But like Jade Mailata is really good. There are a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be in that.
Didn't Sorensby go to Arizona State, right?
Yeah. Sorsby is it? No. Sorsby is at Texas Tech.
Is he at Texas Tech? And Sam Levitt went to LSU.
Sam Levitt went to LSU. Yes. And DJ Lagway went to Baylor. Not that I'm all that concerned with DJ Lagway, but nevertheless, he's there. But yeah, Texas has a whole bunch of quarterbacks. But yeah, Sorsby's really interesting. I don't know if he's going to take that next step, but frighteningly good as an athlete. Mensa's the kid at Miami. Yeah. There are a lot of people really excited about him at Tulane, really excited about him at Duke. Now he's going to go to the Miami Hurricanes and probably play out of his mind for one more year and then come out. So there are going to be quarterbacks that are interesting. And yeah, could somebody fall on their face again? Yeah, we've seen it happen all too many times.
I'm sure one of them will. Yeah.
But this year, the numbers are in their favor. There are just so many of them. At least somebody should be good. I still like the kid who's transferring from TCU to Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana. Yeah.
Who he's the next guy in that mold, and he's going to have that Becker kid who's a really good receiver, and like by the national championship, seemingly was the best receiver Indiana had.
Yeah, and they've got 2 studs that are going to go in the first 100 picks of the draft at wide receiver.
So I don't sit here. Yeah, so I don't sit here and worry that like Indiana suddenly could be a bad football team either. I'm not, the biggest Julian Sand fan in the world, but like it's hard to argue that he hasn't been really good. There's just a lot of guys where the numbers are just overwhelming at a certain point with the amount of quarterbacks that people aren't even considering. Is Lenore Sellers going to fix it? I don't know. I don't really care. There's enough of them. And yes, the Drew Mestemaker is at Oklahoma State is somebody that people are very, 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 very excited about. And yes,
Josh Hoover is the other one. Good call.
Going to Indiana. So yeah, but Mestemaker is a big time prospect. He was I can't remember what small school he played at last year. We just torched people. But yes, him going to Oklahoma State is like, from their standpoint, they are hoping this is going to resurrect their program and make it into what it hasn't been in a few years. But so yeah, the names just continue to roll, and there's going to be somebody who does the thing where you have never heard of that player, and they're gonna make it work.
So I wanted to go back in the chat a little bit because a little bit of Jets talk, and Turtle brought it up, and I was talking about this with somebody the other day. The Jets low-key have a sneaky offensive roster. They really do. They got talent at running back. They got talent at tight end. They got bookend offensive tackles. They've got solid receivers. The Jets are super intriguing to me because they got a trigger man, Pete, that you and I both believe in. And he's motivated. He's happy to be back in New York. Look, I'm shocked that they made that deal because that's a legit fly in the ointment to their whole tanking plan. I'm telling you right now, and I'm happy about it.
Well, I just look at the Jets, and they just don't seem to know what they want to be. On the one hand, they seem to be flat out tanking. On the other hand, Aaron Glenn is coaching for his job. And they're acting like a team that can't figure out what it wants to do. Like, why are you keeping Breece Hall there? You could have gotten a 3rd-round pick for him or whatever last year, and the Chiefs are stupid for not doing it. Whatever. You can move on from them. And I'm not suggesting they have to get rid of Garrett Wilson because they don't. They've got the 2 tackles. They've got these things that could work. But, yeah, I'm hoping Geno Smith is too good. We shall see if they have enough blocking on the interior. I know they're shuffling some stuff around, but I think they'll be okay. But, yeah, they're feisty. So I we'll see what happens, but I think their quarterback play is going to be helpful for them. And if it's not, what's sneaky interesting for them, if there's a world where this thing implodes, you can see Jonas Smith get traded mid-season, not unlike what happened with Joe Flacco last year. Now, though the Browns would not be that team, I wouldn't think. But I could see him go to a team where suddenly, they have a starter go down for a little while, and he comes in and keeps them going or something along those lines.
Yeah. No, I was just a little taken aback by it. I was almost impressed because I have long looked at the Jets and all the picks they've stockpiled as in pure tank mode. They're going to bring it down to the studs, trade off assets, whatever. But you're right. There's no shot that Aaron Glenn keeps his job if they win under 4 games this year. There's just no shot. I mean, he probably should have been fired last year considering he's a defensive coach and his defense was an absolute train wreck after the defense has been good for so long. But, that's neither here nor there. I was impressed. The 2 tackles can play. They're both really – I love Mason Taylor at tight end. I think he's in line for a jump. Jeremy Ruckert behind him is decent depth. I like what the Jets are doing. If they can – the Jets are rumored to be looking for whatever wide receiver falls to them at 16. That could be Jordan Tyson. That could be Mekhi Lemon. That could be KC Concepcion. I mean, that's an intriguing offense to me. It's funny. I haven't looked at the Jets in that way since like that first offseason when they got Rodgers, but there's talent there. And especially the 2 offensive tackles, I'm intrigued.
Hopefully for their sake, they do great and they finish, second in the division. But I'm betting against Aaron Glenn on that front.
Yeah, it's not a bad bet to make. All right, so Pete, we've been kind of going back and forth about this, and I'm gonna make a statement, and I want you to defend your stance on this. But I'm getting to the point where I don't feel comfortable with Mekhi Lemon at 6, and I'm curious as to why you are so comfortable with him at 6 when he's refusing to do the most important testing. And the whole thing we talked about with JSN, right? JSN ran a 4.5.
Totally.
What did he do in the agility drills besides actually take them?
6.713 cone and like a 3.93 shuttle, which is just
it's ungodly, right? And
so here's the thing. I hate what the NFL, what this has become because I like data. Mm-hmm. I like having those numbers. I love the 3 cone. I just think it's a great test. Which, preview for a thing I'm going to write about or have already written that will be published tomorrow. I will be making a very strong case for a particular player. And that test is one of the reasons I'm so high on that player. It's great. It measures body control. It measures your hip flexibility. It measures your agility, and it just measures your overall balance. Having said that, ever since COVID, the participation rates on this have dropped like a stone. And I have to exist in the world that we live in, not in the one I want. And unfortunately, and part of this is the frustration of simultaneously NFL teams and college teams have tracking systems that they can track speeds on this stuff. They, PFF has like their gas score, which is really useful, but they also don't give it out very often, which is really annoying. And the testing, the tracking software, it's not like they make it public for that stuff. And so, with the 3 cone and those drills, you had numbers which like a person could look at the data and they had an apples to apples comparison to everything else, especially in the not too distant past when there was this thing at the combine where they did the 3 cone and the shuttle there, and you had all these guys testing on the same day, and it was an easy apples to apples comparison because it's the same track, same everything. And you could just sit here and go, who's the best athlete today? Who was the best on the field? And those are also tests where it's not necessarily like you can only do so much to like to sort of prepare. Yes, there's a right way to do the 3 cone and all this stuff, but like there's a certain point where it's just like you can either do it or you can't.
Yeah.
But regardless, this is what we've had happen. And the one of the guys who accelerated this process, and I don't blame him one bit, is Marvin Harrison Jr., who basically said, screw it, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to prepare to be an NFL receiver. And it's gone super great, and there have been no complaints, and the world is a better place for it, except, well, he hasn't been that great. Nevertheless, like, people are sort of like okay with the fact that Marvin Harrison's like, yeah, he's good. What does he need to do these things for? There's still a benefit to doing the testing. So Mekhi Lemon skips the combine testing, does drills, goes to pro day, and runs a 40. And if you've watched it, he runs it flat-footed.
It was lumbering.
He looks like he's running for a touchdown right down Heinz Field, just right down the middle of it for the Browns. Like, he looks like he carried the football and run. And I'm convinced, or I should say my theory, I am convinced, but my theory of the case is that Mekhi Lemon had no intention of doing any testing at any point in this process, which is annoying, but like, okay, that's the decision he made. And basically went and said, I'm going to do the 40. I have to do the 40. I can run it this fast without doing anything. I did not train for it. Like, he does not look like he practiced this at all, where like you can talk to some guys and they'll know exactly how many steps they will take in the 40 and all the stuff. And you'll watch the combine and you'll see that guy take a minute and a half just setting himself up to run it. Yeah. Like, Mekhi Lemon was so casual with it, I thought he was just going to run it from a receiver stance, which for some people might think that was more helpful. So he runs it fine, and basically is like, I think his attitude, this whole process, like, okay, I'm good. Now, is that annoying from a standpoint of getting data and getting all the information, people compare it to apples and apples? Yeah. Does it suggest that he's hiding something? You can certainly make that argument, because that used to be the thing.
Yeah.
And like, Denzel Boston did not run his 40 at any point in this. Having said that, his gas score is higher than a bunch of like receivers that are going to go ahead of him. I think including Lemon. So what is more important to you? Are you more worried about your game athletics speed, or are you more worried about the 40? The 40 is certainly useful. The 40 is more useful for bigger guys than smaller guys, incidentally, but nevertheless, it has use, and I like the testing. So what do I have to default with? I have the information I have to go on. Production. His production is outstanding.
Yeah.
He was the dude at USC. Jacoby Lane was basically a forgotten entity in that offense.
Yeah.
Mekhi Lemon chased Deuce Robinson out.
Zachariah Branch
out. They're both in the portal. Deuce Robinson will be a guy you hear about next year as one of the many.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he might
come out this year. He's a stud.
I thought he might come out this year to sort of avoid that, but nevertheless, he had 1,000 yards last year for Florida State. He's a giant. He's really good. And Zachariah Branch, who I want nothing to do with for the Browns, nevertheless, despite being very, very small, some people think he's as good as a second round, maybe early third round pick. So be it. These guys all got out of USC to get away from, because Mekhi Lemon was that ball dominant.
But Peter, we're not talking about statistics, though. We're talking about a guy who is 5'11", sub 200 pounds, and he doesn't have any special athletic qualities. That's a tough sell for number 6. I know the numbers. I know his efficiency is wild. Yes. He is a ridiculously talented player, but that has to scare you. The NFL, these defenses, these athletes are crazy.
Well, here's the thing. If he was an outside receiver, I'd be more afraid. However, slot in particular is a skill-based position. It's not like there's a certain element to the slot receiver, just looking at historical data, where like if you just make it work, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you've seen this from and this is what's happening in the league. Obviously, for a while, there was this run of the Wes Welker types, where you had these tiny little guys who had the great three cone and all this other stuff, but they just figured it out. And now you're getting into this era where it's Puka Nacua, it's Harold Fannin, it's Travis Kelce, it's all these different type of bodies that are just making it work. And ultimately, the thing they have in common is they just make it work. And that's sort of like Mekhi Lemon's special power. He just makes it work. And there is an element to that where you're sitting there going, I don't want to take this on what amounts to be faith in that standpoint. But that is where, that's where the production sort of supersedes the concern of, the concern of the athletic limitation. The other part about this, which this is what makes it frustrating with Lemon or any receiver really. Generally speaking, receiver is a production-based projection of the NFL. In other words, the guys who are super productive are the guys who are most likely to be productive in the next level. Whereas there's other positions where, like edge theoretically or tight end, where you are just so athletically dominant, you can get away with not being super productive.
Yeah.
The thing with receivers, typically you need one special trait: speed, explosion, or flexibility, which encompasses the agility and all that stuff. And the fact that Lemon's not doing these testing things suggests you're not getting that thing. Now, his speed is fine. It's just not special.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You don't have that special characteristic based on, I can point to this and go, based on this, as we can do with JSN, we've got this. Now, the problem we have, and maybe this will change when we get to his pro day, neither has Carnell Tate. And Carnell Tate is an outside receiver, although he could certainly play in the slot. Yeah. And he's not as productive. Carnell Tate's appeal is that based on his profile, he is a guy who, if you give him more volume, traditionally has sort of rose to the occasion and got leveled up with it. So even though you had Jeremiah Smith, who's such a ball magnet, that Tate's production was good enough, and the way he did it suggests that it will scale if he becomes that top guy. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make that leap with Lemon. It's there. He was the dude. Not only was he the dude, but in terms of the stuff that you sort of have to prove, target share. His targets were well over 25% for USC. He carried, got all those passes and proved from a durability standpoint that no issues. So that's sort of where I come to it. The other thing, and this is where we get into a very weird conversation with this draft, and this is where you also can get the people who want to tell you about Monroe Freeling have a point. Outside of Jeremiah Love and Sonny Styles, how many guys are you sitting there going, these are the absolute studs of this? And what's the differentiation between the third best player to the 20th best player? Is it pretty tightly packed, or is it pretty wide? This year, it seems pretty tightly packed by and large. And this is where, if you're somebody who's trying to make the case for Monroe Freeling and saying, well, it's not that big of a deal to take him at 6, where if you're trying to make him say he's Colton Miller and in another draft to be 15th, or somebody else would have been taken 21st. Yeah. If the difference is a matter of that small, then just take the best guy. Then it's not that big of a deal to say that you're taking this guy. The range of outcomes is relatively similar, regardless of who you take. And that point just comes down to personal preference. I would make the case, and this is largely what I've heard from a lot of people, is that after you get past basically Jeremiah Love and Sonny Styles, and if you want to argue somebody else is that great, if you're in the Bain camp that he's that good, so be it, whatever. But after that, it's a pretty tightly packed field, and it's just really coming down to separating who you think is slightly better than everybody else. Now, I would make the case that Lemon is that guy. I would cite the data. I would cite the tape. I would cite all the things that I get there, even though you can sit here and point at the holes of the resume. There are not many guys that have a complete workout, unfortunately, which is infuriating because it's so informative to have all that stuff because it really tells you a lot. But without it, you sort of have to pick your poison. So of the incomplete profiles, who's the guy you sit here and go, this is the best one? Me, I'm putting my stamp on it and say, Mekhi Lemon's that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's tough to argue with how you present your argument, but I would just say that to me, Carnell Tate's that guy because he has the ideal size that I want in an outside receiver.
Does he?
I mean, he's a little bit thin, but he's also young. He'll fill out. He'll get an NFL body.
Well, this is the other part about this. And this doesn't get talked about that much, but it should, which is mass density. Yeah. Mass density is a big deal in terms of athleticism. And this is where you're going to get into Kenyon Sadiq and stuff like that. And I'm not suggesting I'm not advocating for that. I think there's a lot of holes to his game. But nevertheless, in terms of mass density, he's a freak. And that stuff is more translatable. Like Carnell Tate is legitimately not bad. It's not like it's a problem. I mean, but he is on the thinner side. Will he gain a little bit of weight? Maybe, probably. But like, the comparison again, JSN was 4 pounds heavier than Carnell Tate was. And we'll see what Carnell Tate weighs at Pro Day. Maybe it will be better. But ultimately, they both weighed 192 pounds at combine, except Makai Lemon's 5'11", so he's a tank comparatively, where Carnell Tate is taller. Although even then, Carnell Tate was shorter than he anticipated, which is weird, where Makai Lemon was actually taller.
What was he, like 6'1" and change?
No, he's 6'2" and change when he was obviously listed at 6'3". Makai Lemon was listed at 5'11", came in at 5'11" and 1/8 when all these people kept insisting he was 5'9".
Yeah. Well, another thing with me, with Carnell Tate, and, maybe it's helmet scouting, but you look at the program he's coming from, you look at the long list of guys that have been parading out of that school the last few years, multiple rookie of the years, guys that hit the ground running, guys that are legitimate NFL receivers from day one on. And I'm not saying that, Tate is as good as JSN or, Garrett Wilson or Olave, however you want to do it. But I think he's pretty damn good. And I think he's as clean a transition as we're going to get out of the wide receiver position at number 6. I think the big thing for me with Lemon is I hate the fact that he's not testing. But like he does not strike me physically as a 6th overall type of player. And it's the type of thing that, like, if he doesn't test and then we pull the trigger anyway, and then, when he's on an NFL field, he looks a little slower footed than he did in college. That's a problem for me. And that's one of those, types of things. It's like you took a 5'11", sub 200 pound slot receiver who runs a 4.5. You drafted Jarvis Landry at number 6. Like, and I know that you hate that so much, but I mean, that's honestly, if we're looking at it on paper, that's the argument that we're making.
That's not. Jarvis Landry ran a 4.7.
He was hurt.
Now, look, Carnell Tate is the easier choice because he looks the part. For all the reasons you said, he looks like the guy. But again, this is where you sit here and you've got to trust your evaluation process. So ultimately, I'm going to trust my evaluation process and say Lemon. Now, to that same point, you're helmet scouting. So I'm going to assume that Jaden Maiava is your number 1 quarterback with a bullet right now.
What's that?
I am going to, based on helmet scouting, Jaden Maiava has to be your number 1 quarterback with a bullet right now.
You think that I got the stones to pass on a Manning? It's NFL royalty, Pete.
Oh,
I don't care. I'll take.
You're going to bet. You're going to bet against Lincoln Riley's track record right now.
Yep, sure am.
Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, so on and so. Kyler Murray, like, he just keeps pumping them out.
He does. He definitely keeps pumping them out. But I would look. There isn't an NFL general manager who can pass on a Manning at number 1 in favor of anybody.
If you're going to go, well, I don't want a helmet scout, but I'm going to helmet scout. Jaden Maiava's got to be your number 1 quarterback.
No, look, first of all, I don't understand why you're turning this into a Jaden Maiava conversation. Okay, this is a Carnell Tate over Makai Lemon conversation.
But here's the other part, and I grant all the things about, like, it will look weird if the Browns were to take a 5'11" receiver with the 6th overall pick who does all these things.
Yeah.
But if I'm Andrew Berry and I made that choice, I would, for the press conference, I would just have video him taking hellacious hits and catching the football and running through people.
Yep. Because
here's the thing, like, part of the appeal to me from Makai Lemon is he's the AFC Northest looking receiver you're going to find. He plays
he gives me Hines Ward vibes.
Right.
And, like, don't get me wrong. That's maybe my least favorite player in NFL history, but he was so freaking good. He was so good.
He plays like Fannin. He plays like Judkins. Like, this is and this is my fear, obviously, is that somehow the Browns don't take Makai Lemon and then he plays them twice a year and just murders them, just destroys them. Because, like, and the other part about this is, like, there is a bias against slot receivers in general, and people have not gotten over this yet, despite the fact that I will point to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is the best comp seemingly for Makai Lemon, who's averaging 1,250 yards and 8 touchdowns per season. Some people have regarded him as the floor for Lemon. The dude in
but
Jackson
isn't Amon-Ra, wasn't he like an exceptional athlete?
No.
Wasn't that like no? I thought he tested great.
He was a sub 7 3-cone, like 6'9". He was a fine shuttle. He ran slower than Lemon did on the 40 on the same field.
Yeah.
But basically the same size. Dude in Jacksonville, who just led the team in receiving, is 5'9", out of the slot. Parker Washington, slot receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, for some reason, is about to be paid up to $78 million as a slot receiver. Puka Nacua largely operates out of the slot. JSN, even though he can play outside, he was initially drafted to be a slot receiver and does a lot of damage out of the slot. Harold Fannin, Jason Kelsey, all these guys operating out of the slot. Like, these guys are taking over the league, and we're sitting here going, well, why do we do this? And then why can't the Browns go get an outside receiver? I don't care. Get somebody who's going to win. The inverse of this conversation is there are a whole lot of people are sitting there going, I really want D'Angelo Pons at 39 because I'm tired of getting beat in the slot. Well, okay. It's like, make up your mind. Either the slot is a really important thing you need to deal with, which you're apparently willing to use the 39th pick in the draft to go try to stop.
Yeah.
Or it's not a thing. And like, I referenced this at the time when I wrote up my article on breaking down all the things that make Makai Lemon really good, including the fact that he's in very elite company in terms of averaging 3 yards per route run against both man and zone, which puts him in very, very, very select company. Is the Browns, when they played the Lions, they did fine against everybody except the guy in the slot.
Yep.
He's the guy who murdered. It's not like he had a huge game. It was 7 for 70, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Well, and Pete, I'll go a little bit farther on this particular point. I don't see a true threat at the slot for a receiver on this team right now. I don't. And I feel like if we had Makai Lemon in the slot, I would feel okay in 3 receiver sets with Judy outside on one side and Bond or Tillman on the other side.
Yep.
Like that's not bad at all. And that is one thing that I will say we won't get if we get Carnell Tate. We won't get a slot guy like that. Maybe you look later on at, Omar Cooper if he falls to 39 or something like that. But
yeah, and people keep moving him up the board. Like PFF just had a guest do a mock draft with him. They took him 11th.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
Which, I'm not going to – I certainly wouldn't do that. But, if somebody's out there thinking it, there may be an NFL team who's thinking it.
Yeah. Well, I like Cooper more than you do. And I'm not even to say that you don't like Cooper, but you don't really like Cooper until 39. I can at least be talked into him at 24 in certain scenarios, but I'm generally with you. I think 39 would be the best spot for him. But I just, and it started with, because we've been talking about Lemon for a really long time now. But you're right, though. The idea of a true weapon in the slot is phenomenal for any offense, and it's something that we could really use.
And I'd like to come back next year and hopefully get that quarterback, hopefully get Jade Maeva, since you just established he's the best quarterback in next year's draft. And then come back and hopefully the second round in what is a very, very talented, going to be a very, very talented receiver class, and get that premium outside threat to pair with him, because there's going to be a whole lot of dudes next year that can play on the outside that are going to be really, really good. I would rather go that route. Now, I'm not saying you can't do the other way. Like I've said all along, I'm not unhappy with the idea of taking Carnell Tate. I think he's a really good receiver. My personal opinion is that Makai Lemon is better. I'm not going to defer and say, well, Carnell Tate should be the pick because he's more palatable to average fans. Ultimately, if the guy they pick can play, nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not saying I want Carnell Tate because it's more palatable. I want Carnell Tate because I feel like he's a safer selection.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a plug and play, and there's no questions there. Until I see it with my own eyes, I'm gonna question the Lemon stuff just because there's no numbers on it. And it's, we've seen people dominate at the college level before, maybe not to the level that Lemon has done it, because his efficiency really is pretty crazy. It's really impressive. But that's the whole thing. That's why we're even, we're a month away from the draft, and I'm just now getting to the point where maybe I'm not comfortable with this 5'11" slot guy at 6th overall. That shows you how exceptional of a prospect he is.
Well, and that's ultimately the thing. Like the 6th overall in this draft, I don't, look, I've said all along, it's top 10 pick. You got to get something out of it like immediately. Yeah. But I do think that just the way this class is set up, without the super obvious guys there, it sort of muddies up the water as far as how that should go. And I know there's sort of like, a mainstream thought process of sort of this collection of guys that need to be in this sort of area. But like, yeah, I just don't think there's much separation. Like, I don't know what has changed. At one point, Daniel Jeremiah had Mekhi Lemon as like his 7th best player. Yeah. I maybe that has changed quite a bit, and people have sort of beaten him down for it. And he's moved off that. But I know there are a lot of people, who think Mekhi Lemon is the best receiver in this class. Yeah. And they're basically saying, yeah, he's the best receiver. I just don't know if NFL teams have the courage to do it. I care. I just want to take good football players. He's one of them. And I know what he's going to like. I know he's going to be good immediately. I don't have to sit there and go, well, theoretically in year 2, he's going to be this. Like, no, he's going to step in and he's going to be a high volume target right out of the chute. And
he's going to be consistent. He's going to be reliable. Yeah.
Right. Now, it's the same thing. Like, there are a whole lot of people who don't like Casey Concepcion. I see him rated in the 2nd round. And one, I still have a difficult time believing that's going to happen. But 2, if it does, great. I will take him too. Because for me, he's the 3rd best receiver in the class. And I will happily take him. Like, if the Browns were to take tackle at 6 or trade down and take tackle, whatever, and then they wait till 24. If Casey Concepcion is there, I cannot wait to run the card up. People can complain about his hands all day. He puts up points. He makes plays.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because if you look at this draft, there's so many positions that there's strength, there's depth, but it's going to be one of those, beauties in the eye of the beholder draft. Like, your rankings can be one thing, and then the draft can go in a completely different whatever, because there's going to be different needs and different fits for every team. And I feel like whether it's edge rusher or wide receiver or offensive line, like there's names that we have allotted in certain spots, but who knows how the league looks at it? Who knows how the league's going to reflect it? Like we're talking right now, guys like Caleb Lomu and Caden Proctor, they're going to be, there for the 24th pick, or at least the discussion of it. And then you see mock drafts with both guys in the 2nd round. You see other mock drafts with both guys going earlier. It's all over the place. It's going to be crazy to see how it all unfolds. And I think the biggest thing for me about the draft, and the thing that kind of, I would say, irks me more than anything, is that it doesn't matter where you get a guy as long as he's a player. Because everybody makes such a big deal about draft position and, oh, you reached on this guy, or you could have gotten this guy around later. None of that means a goddamn thing come August if these guys can play. You forget real quick that you reached on a guy if he's a player, So it's like, if you, like you said, take good football players and make it happen, and nobody's going to bitch.
The caveat I would offer is, I think what you're saying is mostly true in the inverse. Nobody's going to care if they suck.
Yeah.
Even if everybody you pick is good, there are ultimately going to be conversations about, well, why did we take this in the 1st round? And you're looking at it. The Baltimore Ravens were just a good example of this with Tyler Linderbaum. Great player. They crushed the pick.
Yeah.
4 years later, he's gone. So was it worth it to take him the 1st round? Well, I guess so, because he got 4 good years out of him. But at the same time, he's in Las Vegas. Is that good? The Detroit Lions are going to have to wrestle with the fact they've got 2 really good players that were picked in the 1st round, linebacker and running back, and now they're going to have to pay both of them, or they're going to have to let them walk. And partly, like, there's this weird situation where you're sort of in some cases forced to pay these guys that maybe don't really want to pay, and more than you may have wanted to pay because you took them in the 1st round. Yeah, like, ultimately, initially, just get good players is absolutely true, but there is a point where, like, you sit there and go, if it's left tackle or wide receiver, or obviously quarterback being the big one, where like you can see sort of this thing and you go, man, yeah, it's great. And you can even do this with like Carson Schwarzenegger. And it's, Carson Schwarzenegger looks like a phenomenal player. You got everything you could possibly hope to thus far out of the 33rd pick. But obviously there are other positions where that's more valuable. But like carrying that forward, that's like the floor for Sonny Styles.
Yeah.
He has to be that good right out of the gate, or it's going to feel awful because of the positional value. So like, ultimately, yes, you need to get good football players. But like, I think it mostly works in the inverse, where it's like, you really just don't want to get bad. You don't want to miss on your picks. But then you can sort of sit there and have a little bit of regret of, well, I wish we would have gotten this thing, as opposed to, even though we got a good player, wish we didn't use this asset to get it.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, as long as you have the good player in fold, that's really all that matters. And I agree with what you're saying about Linderbaum, but given the volatility of, the coaching tenures and the general manager tenures, I mean, if you're in a single place for 4 years to see a first round pick,
right,
like you're winning anyways, right? So it's like, the way I see it, whether you take a middle linebacker in the first round or you take him in the 5th round, if he proves in 4 years worthy of an extension, you extend it. And that's, if it's not a position that, you generally are looking to put premium dollars in, then that's fine, But at the end of the day, I feel like you still, even though you don't ultimately want to pay a center the $27 million a year that Tyler Linderbaum got, he was damn good for him for 4 years, and I can't say they regret the pick.
Well, that is a calculation that I think people are underestimating when it comes to the Browns at 6th pick.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say they can't take Monroe Freeling at 6. I wouldn't. But the thing you sort of have to calculate is, if you are saying that he might not be good until year 2 or year 3, are the guys picking him going to be here at year 2 and year 3 to see that? Fans can wait and see if he's going to figure it out and be like, yep, we're happy with the product.
Yep.
Is the guy picking him going to be here long enough for it to matter? And that's not to say, like, if he's ultimately the best player, they should pick him. But I do think that's why there is an element to, they need to get some bang for their buck pretty quickly out of that pick, because it's 6th overall. If you trade down, the calculus changes a little bit, but at least right now it's a top 10 pick. And if he's not good, you're going to hear about it from fans, even if ultimately he's going to figure it out eventually. You may not be here. And that certainly Andrew Berry, but Todd Monken has very little guarantee in terms of that either. So I continue to think that would be a very surprising pick.
Oh, Freeling at 6?
Yes.
Well, that's something that, like, I go back and forth on, because, like, I think the fan in me that wants to see a receiver because it'd be more exciting at 6, I think that trumps it a little bit. At the end of the day, you got a 6'7", 315-pound athlete who has good film, is trending in the right direction. And if he's a top 15 left tackle in the NFL, it's worth the 6th overall pick. I mean, I'm still with you in the sense that I think a wide receiver is a far more pressing matter given the picks that we have and the depth at certain positions. And I think we're comfortable with, there's literally just 2 guys that we deem worthy of that 6th pick at wide receiver, because the 3rd guy, who's the best one, is made of paper mache, and we don't trust that. Right?
Your best one, but okay, that's fine.
Well, no, you know what I'm saying, though. If he had a clean bill of health, you would be back and forth on that one. You love Jordan Tyson. You love Jordan Tyson.
Here's the problem: history is not on his side.
Yeah,
there are, in terms of like return on investment and like superstar receivers, 1st round receivers who stayed in college all 4 years. Who's the best one in the league? It's like Devontae Smith. Where does he rank in the NFL? The 20s?
Yeah.
All the other dudes are 3 years and out.
Yeah.
Now, then you get to like the Puka Nakuas and those guys who are like, but those are the outliers. I'm talking about 1st round receivers who played all 4 years. It's Devontae Smith's the best one. It has not a good track record.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say Jordan Tyson couldn't win that. And
that's part of the problem, though, Pete, is that he has to stay in school because he keeps getting hurt. He can't
Right.
capitalize on like a good, healthy season and be an underclassman that enters.
But Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Casey Concepcion, even Denzel Boston, they are 3 and out.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I have Jordan Tyson behind all of them. Even though I'm not a huge Denzel Boston fan, I'm just sort of defaulting to, like, man, the data says what it says in terms of both that and in terms of what has, what the numbers say in terms of his production, all this other stuff. And so that's where he falls for me. My question to you, I am not, you say Monroe Freeling, if he's a top 15 tackle and all this stuff, and that's all true. Who's the best lineman in the draft for you?
The best lineman in the draft for me?
Yeah, who's the best lineman? All right. The best tackle.
The best tackle in the draft? Mawanoa.
See, for me, it's Fano.
Okay. I like Fano. I think he's an incredible athlete. I don't know, man.
He's so good.
I don't think he's that powerful. I don't like that. I want a little more punch. I want a little more, I need a little more in the ass. He's a little light for me, Pete.
Okay.
He's a great athlete. He's a finesse.
Spoiler. This is what my article is on tomorrow is Fano.
Okay.
And me planting my flank. If the Browns are going to take a tackle at 6 or the first pick, I would take Fano.
You take Fano and you swing him to the left side?
Without hesitation.
Okay. I haven't heard a lot of people bring this up, but
I went back.
Athlete.
One, there are 2 key elements to this point. You just admitted one of them. Not that you're admitting it, but you acknowledged one of them. He's the better athlete.
Yeah.
He's also been the better football player.
Yeah.
And what's weird is like that you would think that would be enough. But because of the whole arm length and all this fiasco with measurements and all this stuff, people have like gotten away from it.
Yeah.
He's the best athlete. Like, watch his workout. Like, we did for this side up. I talked to Tony Pauline, and like his thing with Monroe Freeling was like he was gassed at the end of the workout. That's not to say that Monroe Freeling is bad or anything else. Like, he tested really well in terms of the stuff he did. It looked easy for Fano. It looked downright easy. The funny thing is, like, I watched Spencer Fano, and I'm sitting here thinking there are so many rugby teams out there who are just heartbroken that football is so profitable because he looks like the absolute stud rugby player. Yeah. It looks easy for him. He moves so well. The drills, everything, like his body control. And you watch the tape, and it's the same stuff. And you sit here and go, I don't know about his power. Here's what he does. He gets off the line so fast that he's into your body before you even realize it, before you have a chance to move. He's a momentum guy. Like, and he's just on you, and he fights, and he's just going. And like, between the technique he employs and just the sheer emphasis, certainly Jedrick Wills had left me with this, but Alabama lineman, and there's another lineman the Browns are interested in that gives me the same sense, where they are shift workers. Mm-hmm. They work until they think they think their shift is over, and then they stop playing. Spencer Fano is playing forever. He's playing from start to finish. He's all effort. He's driving his feet. He's looking for work. If he gets beat, he's gonna go compete his ass off and try to find that guy and get him. He's not gonna sit there and do the thing where he sits there, turns and looks over his shoulder and goes, I don't know, maybe next time. Like, he doesn't do that stuff. But from pass protection stuff, like, he mirrors really well. And yes, you have a genuine question in terms of how well is he going to anchor against like Jared Verse?
Yeah.
Now, how does he deal with it? He's got to close ground and get on you now, but he's athletic enough to do it. But what I love about him is how he's able to win in the run game. He is so quick. He's the second level in a heartbeat. And here's part of why I think, again, my vision for what the Browns offensive line is going to look like. I think Zion Johnson's going to play left guard. Zion Johnson is a really, really athletic dude. He moves really, really well. And if you get Zion Johnson and Spencer Fano on one side as 2 guys who can move really, really well, you can counter to the right all day long. You can run zone and have backside cutoff guys from the left side, or you can have those guys get out in space going to the left. I think that's the vision of what the Browns want to do, whether or not it includes Fano. I just think that's what they're going to do. And they want more power, not to say because Titus Howard's not a super powerful guy. All these guys right now are positioned, unless Elton Jenkins is going to end up being at guard. He's more of a positional guy, even though I think the Browns definitely want to be able to run power components to their offense. They seem to want to get, and what I like, because this is always what I look for in linemen, is guys who are powerful and athletic.
Yeah.
So I think Spencer Fano is an absolute weapon, and you can see him get right to the second level and unlock explosive runs. If they want to run a whole lot of zone with Quinshon Judkins, Zion Johnson, who seems to be Quinshon's biggest fan.
Yeah.
And then Fano getting up to the second level and getting to back, like he's so good at hitting moving targets.
It's funny. I have not even considered, just because I didn't want to throw a right tackle over to the left side and just have him figure it out.
Do not care. And the thing that I don't know if you watched some of the combine stuff. I don't know if you saw him like talk.
Yeah. Oh, he's a different cat.
Well,
he's very energetic.
Yes.
Very charismatic. Yeah.
Yes. And
he's a good kid.
He plays like he talks. And what the thing I loved was he gets done doing his workout. He goes to talk to Stacey Dales. He's like, oh, excited. I nailed 7.3 on my L drill. But he's like, yeah, I snapped. I don't care. I just want to, I'll play wherever you want. I want to be great where I want to do whatever it takes to be great.
Didn't he do a whole separate center workout?
Yes, he snapped. He did all the things. Like a guy there's very little chance he's ever going to play center.
Yeah.
But he's just like, whatever I got to
do it. Yeah.
Now, given that the Browns have three guys who are basically saying the same thing, I think that matters. I think that attitude's going to be really, again, and I'm not trying to pick on Jedrick Wills. I'm trying to pick on the type of guy. Jedrick Wills, in some ways, is an energy vampire in terms of he doesn't get you psyched about offensive linemen. Spencer Fano gets you psyched. And that's not to say that Monroe Freeling doesn't, because I like his tape. I think he's really interesting. Spencer Fano is good now. Monroe Freeling is the vision is he's going to be good later. Yeah. And I haven't really heard Maui Noah talk. He's really talented, but I do think there are limitations that may hit him at guard. And I don't know if he fits what the Browns want to do sort of in terms of their vision. I don't know that they're going to want to move him to left tackle, which I don't think you would really argue.
Yeah,
anyway.
I can't.
I think he's a phenomenal player. And there's a world where I could see them go, yeah, we're going to put him at right guard for 20 minutes until Titus is done and move him out to right tackle. And I don't love that as an investment, but I would at least understand the vision. But Fano is the one where I sit here and go, I have zero problem. His skill set, easy transition to me in terms of what you'd want from a left tackle. I love what this kid does. Now, I say all that. I still would rather take Mekhi Lemon or Carnell Tate, but if they're sitting there going, man, we really want to get a left tackle.
Yeah.
Spencer Fano, to me, is the dude. You can sit here and quibble about, well, his arms aren't long enough. He's not this, he's not that. He's good. He's got 35 starts. Started as a true freshman at left tackle, then went over to the right side for 2 years. Excellent tape. Won the Outland Trophy. He had the best workout of anyone at the combine, and we're sitting here going, coming into the season, Spencer Fano, best lineman in the draft. Coming out of the season, top two was either him or Maui Noah, depending on how you came out, and whatever. That to each their own. I'm not going to say you're wrong for saying Maui Noah. Maui Noah is really impressive. He goes to the combine. Spencer Fano, best workout of anybody there, and now we're sitting here going, Spencer Fano, well, he's probably offensive lineman 3 or 4 or 5. Wait, what? He's the best lineman. He's the best athlete. If that's what you want to do, take the best lineman, the best athlete, and put him in there, and let's go.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Monroe Freeling having an extra inch longer arms and 15 pounds on him, that's a big deal to me, Pete.
Is it?
It's a big deal to me.
Is it? You're big
enough.
You need that extra inch?
Maybe. Couldn't hurt. Look, I get it. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Look, man, I'm not going to tell you those measurements don't matter because I pay attention to them.
Yeah.
I pay attention to them too. But I do. There is a point where we sit here and we lose our minds and we overthink it. And we go, we're focused on the wrong things. Spencer Fano, better athlete, better football player.
Yeah.
Now, in 3 years, maybe Monroe Freeling's going to be better, and he will prove to be the right guy. I don't know if Todd Monken and Andrew Berry can wait that long.
Yeah.
And maybe Monroe Freeling can come into the league and be great immediately. Like his best tape, to steel man the case for Monroe Freeling, his best tape is most recent tape. Like he was starting to come on and get really good, or however you want it, not dominant. Yeah. He's getting better towards the end of the year. This is the difference. Like, I think there's something to be said for, I'm using the top 10 pick. I want to get the guy who's dominating in college. Fano dominated in college. Even if you want to sit there and look at the David Bailey tape, like he's still good. Like he's clearly very good. And the same thing can be said for Lowe. Like I'm very Utah pilled on the linemen.
Yeah.
Both guys are just better athletes than everybody else. They are just.
Ask you this, Pete. Spencer Fano, and obviously, like take what we want at 6 out of it, right?
Yep.
If you could have Spencer Fano at 6 or Caleb Lomu at 24.
I would take Lomu at 24.
Yeah.
The other thing that gets lost in the whole Fano conversation, he's younger than Freeling.
Both the Utah kids are like 20 years old, right? Maybe 21.
No, Fano is going to be like 21 and a half by the time of the 21, and like he will turn 22 in November.
Okay.
Lomu, both these guys are getting married, by the way, which is also in the plus column for them. Go Utah. Lomu celebrated his 21st birthday at the combine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Freeling's going to be 22 in, I think, July or August. Obviously, this is not a problem for any of these guys. But if you're sitting here going, well, Monroe Freeling's got most upside, maybe he does. But I would just sit there like there's an element of Fano has played the most football and he's like super young. It's not usual that you get a 3-year and out lineman. It's usually skill guys. He's the 3-year out. Obviously, Lomu's in the same boat. I really like Lomu as well. He's obviously a little bit bigger, wider, but it has more work to do. Whereas, he's more of a projection. To me, where I kept looking at Monroe Freeling, I was like, yeah, for 24th pick, I would love if he makes it that far because that's where I would sort of value that, or 15 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But it's really tough for me in the top 10 to get a guy where you're sitting there, and it's not quarterback. If it's quarterback's the one you sit there and go, yeah, that's sort of the deal. But when it comes to like a lineman and you're sitting there going, I'm taking a lineman in the top 10, already an unexciting prospect for many people. Sure. Certain people were very excited about Joe Thomas when others were not. Yeah. But it becomes a much less exciting.
I will bring up Alan Branch if I have to, Pete. All right, you better pull it back, buddy.
Alan Branch could break dance. Regardless, it's that much less exciting if Monroe Freeling's not game one ready to be a left tackle. You're gonna have people sitting there going, "Wait, we took what?" and he's not playing, or and this is the other part where I think the arm length and all this thing got out of control is people go, "Well, he's struggling. He looks like Will Campbell," which unfair. Will Campbell had 32-inch arms at the combine. At pro day, they were 32 5/8. Yeah. Like. It's not like prototypical, and it's not the 33 mark, but it's a big difference.
Well, I feel like Campbell didn't even get crushed until later in the year when he got hurt, and he came back.
Yes, which is true. Well, he did get crushed in one game early in the year.
Well, yeah, but Miles did that to everybody. He's an alien. What are you going to do?
Yep. Well, listen, he's still the 5 sacks.
But regardless, you got a rookie left tackle, and you're telling him to block the predator. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the other part where I sit here and go like. Having had conversations with guys who like know this stuff, like LaCharles Bentley, way back when, and him talking about like, listen, and this guy's got to block Myles Garrett. Do you believe that player X can go out and do that? Now, obviously, that's a tough deal, and I don't know if the answer is yes for any of these guys necessarily, but like right this second, I think Fano's got the best shot. Even though ultimately, I think what would happen is Myles Garrett would just basically, too small him and just drive through his chest.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the mirror, in terms of the competitiveness, all that stuff, like I think Fano's at least got a shot. I think Freeling could get that like, and the same point, I think Freeling eventually might get there.
Yeah.
But I don't know when that's
take the chance of waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. And if he doesn't get there, then what? Like it's tough. So if you're telling me I got to take a lineman with the first pick, whether they trade down or they sit 6, I'm taking Fano. And I'm not thinking twice. I'm putting him at left tackle, and we are rolling with this thing.
Well, I respect the hell out of that. You make a compelling argument for it. And it looks like we're out of time. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. We appreciate it every time. Thank you to the OBR streaming network for hosting us. And guys, I've been saying it every week. Get over to the OBR.com. Check it out. Now is the time to sign up and become an insider. Boots on the ground in Berea with Fred Greetham and Lane Atkins and Pete Smith. All these guys, man. It's worth it. It's the best time of year for it. And it's a really great way to kind of get behind the curtain and see what's going on in Berea. So, guys, definitely check it out. Peter, always a pleasure. Great show as usual. And happy St. Paddy's Day, brother.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Always a pleasure, chat. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for sticking with us. And thank you guys again. We'll take it easy.